I walked into the CEO's office, not with a sense of triumph, but of inevitability. It was as though I was born to be here. No longer the naive gardener, now the corporate kingpin, and I was playing for keeps. Mason, do you really believe you can manage all this? Amelia's voice broke through my thoughts. I turned to look at her. She wasn't the same naive girl who'd showed up on my doorstep months ago. I have to believe, Amelia, for both of us. Something shifted between us in that moment, a connection sparked by shared challenges, by our struggle to survive in the shark's tank. I was no fool. I knew the family was plotting, waiting for me to stumble, to show weakness. And Amelia, well, she was the perfect pawn in their game of power. So, they want to play dirty, huh? I chuckled to myself one evening, scanning through a barrage of anonymous threatening emails. One day, Amelia walked in on me laughing at a rather intimidating message. Are you okay, Mason? Just another episode of Keeping Up with the Sullivans, Amelia, I said, showing her the screen. It's all a game to them, you know? A game they think they can win. And when they tried, they made their move during a crucial board meeting.
You can't possibly believe Mason is fit to run this company,
Uncle Peter snarled, pointing an accusing finger at me.
He's just a boy playing at being a man.
Oh, Uncle Peter, always living in the past. Still can't believe the gardener boy is giving you a run for your money? The silence that followed was deafening. Then Amelia stood up. I think what Mason is trying to say is that it's time for a new game. One where everyone has a fair chance. And there it was, our declaration of war. When the final confrontation arrived, we were ready. I could see the fear in their eyes. The realization that the boy they'd never took seriously was outwitting them at their own game. So, who's the puppet now? I asked, the question echoing in the boardroom. I looked around, drinking in the stunned faces. Turning to Amelia, I said softly, checkmate. Our enemies were defeated, their greedy plans left in ruins. The family that had once seemed unbeatable was dethroned. And as I stood there, I realized I wasn't alone. I had Amelia by my side. The girl who came to me as a damsel in distress was now my queen, and I, her king. Now, being the man of the house, I didn't have much time for gardening. My days were filled with board meetings, investor lunches, and late-night strategy sessions. The corporate throne was not a seat of comfort. It was a bed of thorns. You're doing a great job, Mason. Our profits have never been higher. Mom complimented over dinner one night, a twinkle in her eye that I hadn't seen before. I learned from the best, I replied, raising a glass to her, but something was off. The Sullivan family never praised anyone without an ulterior motive. While wrestling with profit margins and shareholder expectations, Amelia was my constant. I saw a change in her. So, Claire, huh? Amelia asked me one evening, stirring her tea absent-mindedly. I paused. Claire, the CEO's daughter, recently back from overseas, and as per rumors, keen to claim her inheritance. What about her? I don't know. You've been spending quite a bit of time with her. I have to, Amelia. It's all just business. As the days turned into weeks, I found Amelia and Claire whispering in hushed tones, sharing secret smiles. A nagging feeling grew in the pit of my stomach. The revelation hit me like a thunderbolt. It was during one of those late-night sessions when Amelia's phone buzzed with a new message. The name on the screen? Claire. The content of the message was enough to boil my blood. A detailed account of my business strategies and future plans. Amelia had been a double agent, feeding information to Claire. Why, Amelia? It's not what you think, Mason. I felt a whirlwind of emotions. Anger, betrayal, but most of all, a sickening feeling of being played. I was the gardener once again, but this time, I was being pruned. It wasn't just my corporation at stake. It was my self-worth. As the realization sank in, I knew it was time to uproot the weeds once and for all. The next day, I faced Claire at the board meeting, my heart pounding but my face the picture of calm. Well, Claire, if you wanted to learn about the business, you could have just asked. No need to employ undercover agents. Claire, as it turned out, was the estranged daughter of our company's late CEO, Mr. Sterling. When Mr. Sterling passed, his shares were to be divided between his only child, Claire, and his close business partner, my father. But Claire was a mere infant when her father died, so she was placed in the care of another wealthy family, the Turners, who were close friends of Mr. Sterling. The Turner family, however, kept Claire away from the corporate chaos and raised her with little knowledge of her true legacy. As she grew up, Claire eventually discovered her true heritage. It was not by accident. The Turners had maintained a collection of Mr. Sterling's personal effects, which they had promised to give Claire when she turned 21. Among these effects was Mr. Sterling's will, a legal document clearly stating his intention of leaving his shares to Claire. Feeling deceived and robbed, Claire returned to claim her birthright, full of rage and resentment from my family, especially from my father, who she felt had stolen her father's legacy. But she didn't come alone. She had an army of lawyers and a few board members who were loyal to her father by her side. Claire was no fool. She was cunning and determined, and she knew that she needed an ally, someone from within the Sullivan household. That's when Amelia came into the picture. Claire manipulated Amelia, convincing her that she was on the wrong side, and Amelia, feeling neglected and out of place in our family, fell for it. This new chapter of my life began, as most dramatic things do, over breakfast. I was sipping my coffee, skimming through the morning paper when my mother dropped the bombshell. You should know the truth. You are our adopted son, Mason. Your biological parents were our rivals in the industry. You're joking, right? But she didn't laugh. She didn't dismiss it as a jest. The gravity in her eyes was undeniable, and it hit me like a freight train. This was no joke. My mind flashed back to my childhood, the aloof treatment, the loneliness, the detachment. I wasn't just the black sheep. I was a sheep in a field of wolves. My biological parents were no more, leaving me in the care of the biggest wolves in the pack. Why now, Mom? Why drop this bomb after all these years? It's your right to know, Mason. You're at the helm now, and you should know all the facts, all the secrets. The revelation sparked a fire in me, a fire that was a blend of anger, confusion, and a strange sense of understanding. I was more determined now, determined to keep what was mine and to seek what was rightfully my biological parents'. This wasn't just about the Sullivans anymore. This was about my legacy, my identity. But I was ready. Ready to face my demons, ready to confront my past, ready to redefine my future. I was Mason, the forgotten son, and I wasn't going down without a fight. An icy tension hung in the air. The boardroom suddenly seemed much colder. Across the large mahogany table sat Claire, her eyes burning with an intensity that could rival mine. You don't belong here, Mason. You're not a Sullivan. Neither are you, Claire. But that doesn't seem to stop you. You have no claim here. And yet, here I am, sitting at the head of this table. I looked around the room, my gaze challenging anyone who dared to defy me, but they averted their eyes. Good. Claire, we're both outsiders here. Puppets in a grand puppet show put on by our so-called family. Isn't it time we stopped dancing to their tune? Her eyes widened. She seemed taken aback, not by my defiance, but by my proposition, and for the first time, I saw a flicker of uncertainty in her eyes. It was strange, seeing her vulnerability. She wasn't just the enemy anymore. She was just like me, fighting for what she believed was hers. Think about it, Claire. Together, we can be a force they won't dare reckon with. With that, I left the room, leaving behind a flustered Claire and a boardroom buzzing with anticipation. The power play had just gotten interesting, and I was all in for the game. Claire and I found ourselves at odds again, this time within the cool marble corridors of the corporate office, away from prying eyes. Our confrontations had taken on a peculiar rhythm, akin to a dangerous dance, loaded with silent threats and hidden agendas. Why the hell should I trust you, Mason? Claire's voice echoed around the empty hallway, her face an open book of frustration and suspicion. I couldn't blame her. I'm not asking for your trust, Claire. I'm suggesting an alliance. It's business, not personal. A Sullivan always makes it personal. And you are a Sullivan, whether you like it or not. Am I now? Or is that just another lie they've fed to us to keep us in line? What do you want, Mason? Revenge. I want them to pay for what they've done. Claire's face softened, a sign she was contemplating my proposal. You're not the only one. Then let's make them pay together. I extended my hand towards her. An invitation, a pact. She looked at it, then at me, the weight of our shared experiences reflected in her eyes. This doesn't mean I trust you, but I'm in. The thrill of having Claire on my side was nothing short of exhilarating. This was a game changer. Welcome to the rebellion, Claire, I said, releasing her hand and taking a step back. The playful glint in her eyes told me she was ready for the challenge. The Sullivan Empire was about to witness a revolution, and there wasn't a damn thing they could do about it. That's when the elevator dinged behind us. We both turned, and standing there was my mother, her eyes bouncing between Claire and me. I could see the calculations going on behind her steely gaze. She'd walked into a conversation she wasn't supposed to hear, and now she was the wild card in our meticulously laid out plans. What game are we playing? She asked. her voice breaking the tense silence. The next move was anyone's guess.